My name is Thibaut Beaujeau, and I'm the president of the French New Zealand Chamber of Commerce. For 35 years, the French Chamber of Commerce is facilitating trade between New Zealand, France, and the French Pacific. Today, it's my great pleasure to welcome Daniel Eggenberger, CEO of Air Tahiti Nui, New Zealand. Bonjour, Daniel. How are you?
Bonjour, Thibaut. Merci. Very good. Thibaut,
thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure contributing to your interview series, which I think is a great initiative. Thanks for that.
Thank you. Daniel, could you tell us a little bit more about Air Tahiti Nui and what you guys do?
Sure. Yes, so we are an international airline headquartered in Papeete in Tahiti, and we fly several direct routes, such as from Tahiti to Auckland, Paris, Los Angeles, and Tokyo. And in the Pacific region, for which I'm responsible together with my team, we fly directly to Auckland from Tahiti, and then we serve the Australian market via codeshare partners and fly there to Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne. Then when we look more at our fleet, which we have, so that's quite exciting actually, because we operate the youngest fleet in the world. Because over the last year, 1.5 years, we've completely renewed the entire fleet. So we fly now the brand new Tahitian Dreamliners, which are a make of the Boeing 787-900s. Furthermore, our company is a part owner of Tahiti Nui helicopters, which are stationed in Tahiti and which can be booked for scenic flights and also for transfer flights between the different French Polynesian islands.
All right.
Last but not least, maybe one comment just on the name, because many people confuse us with Air Tahiti, but actually Air Tahiti Nui and Air Tahiti are two completely different legal entities and two different companies, nothing to do with each other. So Air Tahiti Nui, Nui means the grand, the big, plenty. And that's our company because we have the international network, and Air Tahiti is the domestic company in French Polynesia, which deserves the different islands.
All right, really interesting. I didn't know that about Air Tahiti Nui. It's really interesting. Thank you very much, Daniel. Could you tell me why you are part of this this French collective approach and the Chamber of Commerce?
Sure, yes. Yeah, of course, being a French Polynesian company, we obviously have very strong relations and links with France. And when I break it down now to New Zealand, I think with the French Chamber, the French New Zealand Chamber of Commerce, which is so active here in New Zealand, I see a big commercial benefit of being part of the chamber as well, in terms of exchanging on a regular basis with the French companies or with the Kiwi companies which have strong links to France. Mm-hmm. Now, in the end, I think the chamber's members have a very high likelihood of being clients of us and customers on us and flying on one of our next flights, because from the moment you step on board, you can speak French up to the very end when you exit our aircraft. And on top, we bring you to one of the most beautiful islands in this world, Tahiti, which is French spoken, obviously, and where you can find in the Carrefours the same champagne, the same French cheeses as what you find in Paris. So there's actually only a great connection between the two companies. And we bring you there in 4 hours and 30 minutes, which many people think it's much further away from New Zealand, but it's a very short flight.
Yeah, that's right. It's a very short flight, and I'm actually personally looking to be able to travel to Tahiti at some point. Really hoping that it will be one of the first country that New Zealanders will be able to fly to after all this COVID-19 situation is way behind us. Thank you, Daniel. In terms of speaking about COVID-19 and the whole situation, I know it's really tough on the airlines at the moment. Could you tell us a little bit more about the situation from your point of view?
Sure, yes. Yeah, the COVID impacted the airlines and the total travel industry in a dramatic way, because it's unprecedented, this situation. Because for airlines, it's not that one route or one country or maybe even one continent would have a crisis where you cannot operate, but the entire world. So basically, the reactions of the governments to COVID was to close all the borders. And when I look at our worldwide network, all the countries where we are flying to, those borders are closed. So actually for the airline and for us, there's no other choice than grounding the entire fleet. And that's currently our situation, unfortunately, that since the lockdown of when New Zealand entered into the level 4, since that day, we have the entire fleet grounded.
Yeah.
Now, currently as well, we are canceling the flights up to the end of June due to the fact that the borders will not open, we expect before that time. And so, yes, the situation for the airlines is critical, and there are hardly any additional new bookings coming in because everyone wants to wait to see how this COVID situation evolves. But yet, several people ask for refunds. So we as Air Tahiti Nui as well, we join other airlines in promoting that people should rebook and not refund. So that's really a critical part, to just postpone your travel to a later stage rather than asking for a refund. On a positive note, we do have cargo flights into Auckland. And just Friday, a week ago, we had one of those flights which transported 30 tons of cargo between Tahiti and Auckland. And on top, we were able on this flight to repatriate stranded New Zealanders and Australians.
Yeah.
And so that's on a positive note. There are also, of course, such situations.
Yeah, so I understand the situation is really not easy for you guys, and I think if your travelers can just postpone their holidays, first it will allow them to still be able to visit Tahiti, which will probably be a great reward after all this situation and being locked down. And second, obviously there is a big impact on cash flow, and it's a way to support you guys to make it through the current situation. I encourage the consumers to keep their tickets and get a voucher to be used a bit later. We hope the sooner the better, but we'll know about that in the next few weeks, few months, I hope. Cool. Speaking about positive notes, Daniel, I'm sure you had some very rewarding moments during this situation. It's creating new ways of working. And I'm sure you've been delighted to see what your team and yourself have been able to achieve during that time. Could you give us some example?
Yes, sure. Actually, maybe 3 main examples pop into my head. The first one is just 2 weeks prior to the lockdown situation in New Zealand, the French Polynesia started asking for medical certificates of our customers, so to prove that they are COVID symptoms free. And we were the only airline who changed our processes accordingly, and we hired a certified nurse at the airport who at the airport
wow.
to take temperatures and did the checks to verify that the customer is COVID free. And on top, we uploaded this certificate onto our webpage, which the local customers here could download easily before traveling, could do a self evaluation, and then the nurse at the airport checks it, signs it after all the different checks, and then the passenger could go on board. And for
just before jumping in the plane.
Before jumping in the plane.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's a great initiative, guys.
Yes, thank you. And even the challenge was there for the transferring passengers in transit. So the Australians who came via Auckland to Tahiti.
Yeah.
So there we had the same certified nurse at the transit area just before the aircraft departed, and did there the same checks, and already had the medical certificates ready, which the people could use. So we got a lot of positive appreciation and a lot of goodwill out of this, because it just took an additional burden away of the traveling passenger in such a situation.
That's fantastic to see how you've been able to, you know, adapt to the situation, and at the end allow your passengers, your customers to still be able to travel, taking into consideration the limitations or the rules that have been put in place, I guess, at the last minute, right? Without any notice to you guys in advance. It's a great example. I'm sure you would have another one, another good moment.
Sure. Yes, another rewarding moment, you know, is of course on that cargo flight where we were able to make it a passenger flight out of it in order to actually repatriate the stranded New Zealanders and Australians who were in Tahiti, and we could accommodate their return to New Zealand and then further the transit to Australia. This sounds easy, but it was absolutely not, because we had to involve many governmental agencies in order to grant a transit window for Australians through Auckland, where the country was in a lockdown. So we managed to do that, and when we were standing there at the airport waiting for our aircraft to arrive, and then the door opens, and then you see all these smiling families finally coming home, and on, you know, thanks to us, basically. That's one of those nice moments. Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I think, I mean, I'm sure, as you said, it looks simple, but actually in the background, it must be a lot of work for you guys and your team to make it happen, right?
Correct. Yes. And maybe one last point, Thibaut, if you look more at our internal staffing situation, obviously everyone goes through a difficult time. We've reduced the workload, we've reduced the pay, and so on. But nevertheless, the motivation and the team spirit of the team is just absolutely fantastic and outstanding. And we are all eager to do the maximum now for our clients and the trade partners and the stakeholders, even in such a difficult situation. And I think that's just rewarding to see as well.
Yeah, and that's probably the Tahitian way, right? Like always a smile on your face and make it happen, right?
Also the Kiwi and the Australian mentality, because actually the team here is completely local.
yeah, but I mean, there is a Tahiti spirit, right? Like in your company, you can see that, right?
Correct.
Happiness across the board. And Daniel, if you were to share any learnings out of this situation to other business owner or country manager of other businesses, what would they be?
Yeah, I think it's be agile, be flexible, that make the best of the situation. Because due to the fact that it is unprecedented, the companies just need to really be flexible and agile. So as an example, the medical assistants, which I've mentioned, where we were the only ones, and that decision we've taken within literally hours to set up the process. Or then in terms of team spirit, also I could recommend, you know, that all the businesses which lead teams maintain the same kind of team meetings and team platforms as prior to COVID, but then they just move it online, because those platforms, or that continuity combined with open and honest communication about how the situation currently is and what we can do as a company, that will definitely impact positively the team spirit and the team cohesion.
Cool. Thanks very much for this advice, Daniel. I could not agree more. Positiveness is key in this situation, and we need to make sure that we remind ourselves that we need to look at opportunities At the moment, there is opportunities, and it's not easy, but we will get through this together. Thank you so much, Daniel, for your time. We really appreciate the time that you spent with us today. Again, as you know, the French Chamber of Commerce is committed to support its member during this situation and ongoing. So thank you again for your time, and we are looking to see your planes fly again to Tahiti in the soon future. So good luck to you and your team for the next few weeks. Keep up the great work, and looking forward to see you fly again.
Thank you, Thibaut. My pleasure.